1:15 in the morning. The lights are off, the room's quiet. You've been horizontal for 40 minutes and your brain has used that time to compose half a dozen emails, replay some conversation from 5 years ago, design small business, and remind you of something you forgot to do back in March. You're exhausted, but you're also wide awake. If this loop sounds familiar, you've probably been told to do things like just go to bed earlier, or try a wind down routine, or stop scrolling before bed. None of those stick. You quietly add those to a pile of evidence that the problem is you. I'm Kris, an ADHD coach living with ADHD. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why ADHD sleep isn't a willpower problem, it's a circadian one. Once you can see what's happening, the strategies that work finally start to make sense. There's a hormone called melatonin that tells your brain it's time to wind down. In a neurotypical adult, it kicks in around 9:30 p.m. In adults with ADHD, it kicks in roughly 90 minutes later. Roughly 75% of ADHD adults run on a delayed circadian rhythm. So when someone with perfectly punctual melatonin tells you to just go to bed earlier, they're biologically asking you to fall asleep before your brain's even started the soundtrack. That's the first piece. Here's the second. Dopamine and melatonin are in a seesaw relationship. They suppress each other. ADHD brains run lower on dopamine, which is part of why the seesaw is tilted towards the wrong end of the day. Tired during the day, wired at night. The technical term is evening chronotype. The lived experience is, I'm a different person after 10 p.m, and that person has unbelievable plans. Sleep deprivation then degrades the same brain region that's already struggling with executive function, which is how you end up tired, foggy, and convinced you need to try harder. You don't. You need a strategy that respects your wiring. There's a reason this gets worse the more responsible you've been during the day. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination, and ADHD brains are world-class at it. After a day of meetings, masking, forced focus, the late evening is the first stretch of unstructured time that actually feels like yours. Going to bed means giving all that up, so you don't. You scroll, you game, you start a hobby project at 11:48 because the ideas are finally arriving. Time blindness papers over the consequences because 11:30 and 1:30 feel suspiciously the same until suddenly they don't. Then the lights go off and the silence cues your brain to start broadcasting. None of that's a character flaw. It's a system trying to claw back what the day took from you. Which means the fix isn't more discipline at bedtime. It's redesigning the day so the evening doesn't have to do all the emotional work. Strategy 1 is anchor on wake time, not bedtime. This is the single highest leverage move you can make, and it's counterintuitive enough that most people skip it. Bedtime's the wrong end of the lever. Your circadian rhythm responds to morning light, not evening willpower. So you stop trying to force an earlier bedtime, and instead you set a consistent wake time you can hit 7 days a week. Yep, even on weekends. Then 30 minutes of waking, you get bright light into your eyes. Go outside if you can, use a sunrise alarm or a bright light next to where you eat breakfast. Over 2 to 4 weeks, your natural sleep onset starts to shift earlier on its own because the morning signal is doing the work your bedtime willpower was trying to do. The reason most people give up on week 1, it's painful. You will be tired in the mornings while your body recalibrates, but by pushing through, you're paying down that circadian debt, not failing. Strategy 2 is the reverse wind down. Standard advice tells you to remove all stimulation before bed, which sounds great until you realise the ADHD brain hates a void and will absolutely fill it with rumination. So instead of cutting stimulation, you taper it off. The shape's about roughly 60 minutes long, and it goes in 3 steps. 60 minutes out, you switch from active engagement to passive, familiar content. Keyword there is familiar. A new show, a new game, a new podcast, they all spike novelty, which keeps you up. A rerun of something you've seen 4 times before does the exact opposite. Your brain doesn't have to work, which is the whole point. 30 minutes out, you drop stimulation again. Do some stretching, colouring, or familiar podcasts. tidy up something. 15 minutes out, try to switch to audio only. Maybe some brown noise, sleep story, an audio book on a timer. Each transition should have an alarm, because expecting yourself to remember the alarm is usually where this routine dies. None of these steps require you to do less. They just require you to do something less stimulating than what you are already doing. Strategy 3, build a personal time buffer early in the evening. This one's the unglamorous fix that quietly outperforms the others, because it targets the actual root of bedtime procrastination instead of arguing with it. The reason you stay up late in the evening is because it's the only time that actually feels like it's yours. Take that need seriously. Block out 60 to 90 minutes of time in your calendar early in the evening. Label it my time and protect it like an actual appointment. Use it for whatever you want, as long as there's no goals related to productivity attached to it. The only rule is that it ends at a set time, and then the wind down begins after that. You're giving it a real spot on the schedule, so it stops trying to ambush you at midnight. So, putting it all together, anchor your wake time and get morning light. Run a tapered wind down instead of a hard cutoff. Build a proper personal time buffer earlier in the evening. But bedtime isn't the only place your needs can land. If you've tried sleep advice before and it's all just slid off, that's not because you have less control than the average person on the internet. That's because most ADHD sleep advice is just an ass-covering rehash of generic sleep hygiene that ignores the actual mechanism. The mechanism's circadian, so the fix probably should be as well. If you want the written version with all the citations and a few strategies I didn't have time to cover, the full article is on yourbrainprint.com.au, link down below. I do free discovery calls as well if you want to see if coaching's right for you. And if you want to talk to someone who has the same wiring and has gone through all of these steps themselves, your brain isn't the problem, the strategy was.